Are we going to see Jon Jones back in 2022? What do you guys think? I got to ask this question. I'm asking you a little bit of a rhetorical question. I would like to hear from you just on a prediction, but that's all it's going to be, right? Yes, no, you're not going to have much evidence. I come to you with no, but I come to you with a little bit of evidence, which is Jon Jones got to be a pay-per-view. Jon Jones got to be a main event. If we go look at the calendar, the only month left in the year that is yet to be spoken for is December. And Jon Jones coming back, and it's a big fight. Boy, I believe there's going to be an interim championship, not to mention when you look at December happens to be the month. That's when the rubber meets the road as far as it pertains to Francis Ngannou and his contract and his exit clause, however that all works. Do you book a fight? Do you book a fight a month from now to do an interim championship when perhaps you don't need one because your undisputed champion comes back? Listen, Michael Bisping made a comment about 5 weeks ago. Michael Bisping made a suggestion. He said, don't make Jon Jones versus Stipe. So wait. You've already waited too damn long. You've already waited 70% longer than you. I'm adding a couple of words to Bisping, but this was the point that he made. He said, you've already waited so long. Just wait the rest of the way and see what Francis does. Don't worry about this interim championship. Either put Jon in there with Francis, which is what was supposed to happen when Jon moved up to this weight class in the first place. Then you got Stipe sitting there. Stipe versus Jones works. Okay, great. Stipe doesn't do anything in between. Stipe versus Jones still works. Francis gets to jump on Jones. Stipe goes into Francis. It's true trilogy fight. They split the first two. This was Bisping's suggestion, and the only thing that would hedge a bet against the count was the calendar. It wasn't a terrible idea when he brought it up 5 weeks ago. Now that we're into the second month removed, I mean, don't forget, when you're looking at a calendar year, you're not just talking about 5 weeks. You're not just talking about skipping and leapfrogging a month. You're talking about 20% of the year being gone. It's very meaningful. And as each day and each week goes by, it does seem to be a little bit more viable. Now, what do? Right? You're only as good as the information that you're given. If Dana starts to get a feel, and he's pretty good, he's got to trust his gut, right? Been in this business a long time. He starts to get a feel, hey, this is going to get worked out with Francis. By the way, it's going to be December. It's going to get worked out with Francis. Let's keep him on ice. I don't want to keep him waiting too long. Let's get him. I mean, it's one of those things where you start jockeying these positions. You start hedging bets for what you can do. Not to mention, Bisping's idea does work. I mean, if you're going to do Jones versus Stipe, as far as having a great night of business that we can all look forward to, you only get it one night. What's the difference if you do it in Q4 or you do it in Q1 of next year? I mean, in all fairness, what's the difference? You do it in the same building for this. Everything's the same. You're just moving it down the line. Nobody in the heavyweight division at speed. I tell you what, if I was in that division, god damn. I got a champion under surgery who is publicly in a dispute saying he's not going to return. Oh, and by the way, the last time I saw him in a ring, it was somebody else's ring across the pond with a dude that just said he retired. Now they're going to go make up a sport. You better believe you're going to be hearing from me. I would call in every favor, every friend, every day. You would be hearing from me. These heavyweights, man, they don't care. There's no opportunity. The belt's held up, whatever. I mean, we've never seen a heavyweight division like this. The sport of wrestling, for the first time in history, is unrepresented. Now, that will change when Jon comes back. Jon's this dynamic kickboxer and all these things. Jon is a national champion wrestler, so that will change when Jon gets licensed. But first time in history, the sport of wrestling is unrepresented. You got some bad old boys up there. You got Tai Tuivasa, I mean, leaps and bounds he's coming along. You got Surreal Gone. Dominated 15 men, won undefeated, won a world championship, was never once taken down. I mean, you've got some very impressive guys. You got Curtis Blades. By the way, I say wrestling isn't represented. Very disrespectful. Curtis Blades has that same national championship that Jon does. Excuse me. You got some tough guys, but they're not making any waves. I couldn't imagine being in a division that didn't have opportunity. What are we here for? Those guys might have a different answer, by the way. I might be the one playing center field wearing a catcher's mitt. I might be the one that's wrong. Things change. Maybe old Chael's been away too long. It used to be about fighting for championships, or it used to be about being a journey to get to fight for a championship. This was literally the motivation and drive. This is what you aspire to do. They got a belt that's held up twice. It's held up in a contract dispute and it's held up in an injury. They haven't said a word. They haven't said a word about let's get on with it. They got a guy that's going to slide into the division named Jon Jones, who hasn't fought in years. He's not licensed in the division. They all stood back. Boy, you come in here, you're going to be fighting for the championship. I read that 18 months ago during some press conference when Kevin Iole asked a question to Dana White. I guess that must just be something. I don't understand it. I don't like it. It frustrates me. Frustrates me that they're not demanding. But in all fairness, we're here to discuss the point that Michael Bisping first brought to us, which is, do you even bother doing Jones versus Stipe now that you've waited so long? It's just a prediction, and we're not saying that fight's not going to happen. We're all very confident that, absent of something that we're unaware, absent of somebody's pending retirement, that we're going to get the match. I'm asking you a little bit more specifically, are we going to get it in 2022? And as each week goes by, you start to defer back to what Michael Bisping predicted in the first place, or at least what he suggested, and he's starting to look a little more right. If you got Jones available and you got no match lined up and you think you're going to get Francis and now it's just a matter of waiting a little bit more time, I think you probably wait it. And if we are going to get it in 2022, it's got to go in December on the card that's not announced. I don't think they're going to throw that fight together that fast. I don't think that. When would be a next announcement they could make that? Next pay-per-view, August 23rd, Salt Lake City, Usman versus Leon. They drop a B-roll in there, so that's going to get August to September to October, November to... Yeah, okay, you could do it. You could definitely do it. There's still 4 months left in the year. All right, see, and I was thinking there was 3. But I still wouldn't predict it. I would not predict that you would put Stipe and Jones on the only card that you can, the only card that's even still available, which is December, which happens to be the same month that Francis is coming back. I mean, right, what do you want to go count your rotten eggs? I think if we knew that Francis was done and we don't have that opportunity, we would have already gotten on with it. I'm just making a prediction. I'm just making a guess. But it is one of those key spots. It looks like you've got a very meaningful round robin right there. And you get to keep that round robin. You get to keep that little elitist club of Jones, who's never done it, Stipe, who was carried out the last time he did it, and Francis, who says he doesn't want to do it anymore. I mean, you get to keep that little elitist club until somebody comes in and enters it. You're never going to be invited to the cool kids table. You're going to pull up a chair and sit down, and if somebody has a problem, then you can remove me, or you won't. That's the way this works. It's called the fight business. We don't have a damn heavyweight that's fighting for anything. Surreal Gun, who has not spoken since what should have been the biggest night in heavyweight history, he has not spoken save one time, where he said he would like to fight for the interim championship. Now, I got to give him credit. I know I'm very hard on Surreal, but he at least said the words. Nobody else has even said anything. Stipe and Jones, which we all believe, we're saying that that's going to be at a minimum for an interim championship and possibly elevated to an undisputed championship. We're saying those guys haven't said it. Their trainers haven't said it. Their managers haven't said it. It's a very peculiar spot. Curtis Blades was a hard matchup for anybody and just had a tremendous victory over who I believe might be the shining star of the whole division, and Tom Aspinall. Either way, and whatever happened in the knee and the whole bit, Curtis got his hand raised while I'm in a main event in enemy territory. Good for Curtis, but then he goes to the post-fight press conference and says something about, I'm not going to put this on the line. I'm not going to fight until there's some kind of a caveat there. I get the guy has a right to change his mind. I'm just sharing for nobody's talking about championships. Nobody's talking about bringing the belt back. Francis, you and Tyson, you can both go shove it up your ass. We don't need you in the first place. Nobody's trying to crack some eggs to make an omelet here. And you don't do it out of respect, by the way. Please don't tell me a comment with these guys are respect. It has nothing to do with respect. They don't do it because they're scared of Francis. They don't do it because they're scared of John. Make no mistake. 100% why they don't do it. Even when you have that little coward inside of you, but then you have a brain, right? You got these two organs working in conflict. Your heart, right? You got to go see the scarecrow. You got to go see the wizard. You don't want to upset Francis and you don't want to upset you. Well, then your brain's got to step in and say, Jon Jones isn't licensed and Francis might not be coming back. So whether I mean it or not, whether I got any ammo in these pistols, I'm coming out firing. I'm going to capture headlines. I'm going to be the first one to say it. I'm going to get in front of this thing. I'm going to look like my career and my division matters to me. Easy pickings. Sail right on through. Be the only one to do it. We have sat on the perennial division, which is the heavyweight class, unattended with a champion. And we have nobody except me who's got no standing in the matter, even suggesting perhaps we should revisit that.